All right, so we are live on YouTube, and we will be live in just a minute on Facebook.
Facebook's always slow.
It is. All right, we should be live in just a second on Facebook. I'll give you a heads up. There we go. All right, guys, welcome to Ashes of Courage Rising Through Cancer podcast. We are back. Happy New Year. You know me as Rin, and I am with my amazing co-founder, Candice Doucette. This podcast is to guide in healing, rebuilding, and thriving beyond cancer. And we're here to walk you through the mental and emotional roller coasters of thrivership and survivorship. And today I'm really, really excited to introduce you to our special guests. We have Vicki and Harvey from His Breast Cancer Awareness, the co-founders. Welcome, welcome. We're so
Thank
glad
you.
you're here.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here. Thank you for having us.
Our pleasure. So let's kick it off by talking about each of your stories. I think that's the best place.
Okay, well, I guess I will go first since I was the first of us to have breast cancer, which my first diagnosis took place when I was 37 years of age. Then I had a recurrence when I was 39. Both were contained in the duct, DCIS being the diagnosis. And thought I'm young and invincible, and I didn't really have to worry about any of this until I was much older, like our mother and our aunt, who were in their 70s. Unfortunately, 10 years later, that wasn't the case when I was diagnosed a third time with invasive ductal carcinoma. Went through radiation, was on tamoxifen, lumpectomies, and at that time I discovered when sitting in my oncologist doctor's office that there was such a thing as genetic testing. So I investigated that a little further and thought something I would like to do, if not for myself, for my children or future grandchildren at that point in time. I do have 3 sons, an older son, and then a set of identical twin boys. And at this point in life, I have 6 grandchildren. 3 of them are boys and 3 girls. So in any event, I found out that I carry the BRCA2 genetic mutation, and I shared that with Harvey. And, he kind of heard breast cancer and really didn't think much after that as a man. For my part, I got through another almost 10 years when I was diagnosed a 4th time. At that point, I did have a full mastectomy. I did go through chemotherapy treatments, and I have been on medication. I took tamoxifen for 5 years, and I am on an aromatase inhibitor, Arimidex, now, which will be at this point, the prediction is to be on it for 10 years. I'm about 7 years out. So, not fun stuff, but I'm here to share, so that's what's important. And I just keep a positive outlook and know that I'm trying to do all the right things that I can do to help myself, and stay strong. And whether it's through diet and lifestyle and exercise and so forth. For me, after about a year and a half after my 3rd diagnosis, and after genetic testing, Harvey gave me a call, and I'll let him share his side.
So just to say, I don't think we mentioned Harvey and Vicki are siblings. So I think
I'm
we
sorry,
forgot
yes.
to mention that. But yes,
Yes,
Harvey
thank
and
you.
Vicki are siblings. Just to clarify.
I'm
So
younger. Just saying, I'm younger.
Harvey.
Yes, you are,
Yeah.
and you will always be. So Vicky's right. She was diagnosed, got genetically tested, and then warned me that she was carrying this mutation. And I said, okay, well, I'm a guy. I'm not going to get breast cancer. And she goes, well, it also causes pancreatic cancer, melanoma, prostate cancer, which I was already having an issue with, and ovarian, which I obviously wasn't going to get. But I kind of shoo-shooed it, and about 8 months later, I was with a bunch of guys, and I had noticed a change in my left breast, but I thought it was like, all right, I'm a little out of shape. It was indenting. My nipple was indenting. It was folding over. I didn't think that much about it, but I was with a bunch of guys about 8 months later, and guys, we get together once a year, and I saw a guy I hadn't seen in a while, and he came up and he gave me a big bear hug because he's a big guy. And when he hugged me, I got a pain that shot from my left nipple, like into my ear, like somebody stuck a knife in me.
Oh,
And when I
wow.
got back, I said, I got to figure out what this is. I showed it to my wife, and she said, "Oh, you're always looking for something. You're a hypochondriac, blah, blah, blah." But I went to my doctor. It took her about 3 seconds to do a manual digital exam. And I'm sending you for a mammogram. I said, "Mammogram? I'm a guy." And she said, "Well, yeah, you can get a mammogram just like a woman with small breasts can get a mammogram." And it was a Friday afternoon. She goes, "I don't want you to have to worry about it all weekend." So she said, "Let's do that." And of course, everything went into high gear. As soon as I had the mammogram, I had the ultrasound, found out it was calcified, went for a biopsy the following week. And then I got a call and said, "Mr. Singer." And she said, "Yeah." I said, "Yeah." She said, "Sir, you have breast cancer." And at that point, I wasn't shocked because Vicky and I had talked over that weekend, and we kind of knew what was coming. Obviously, we knew it existed, but not like most men. 95% of most men don't think they can get breast cancer. I went through full surgery, mastectomy of my left breast, follow up chemo, um, hormonal tamoxifen for 10 years. But immediately after the surgery and the going through chemo, I said, this has got to change. Everything was so difficult for me as a guy to get through this process. It's the pink gowns in the radiation oncology offices. It's the forms. Everything was not set up for guys. And I said, between Vicky's 3 boys, I also have 2 boys. We know each one of those boys because I've been tested, of course, right after. Not that we needed to. We know it was BRCA2 related, most likely. We knew they were 50-50 to carry. And we said, we got to do something to change this. It's got to become easier for the next guy. Our kids, hopefully not, but for God forbid, our kids have to go through it. And just make the process easier, make it more acceptable for men to go through this process and not feel like a total outcast. Because honestly, I was a total outcast. They shuffle you in and out of, when you get a mammogram, hiding you because God forbid you'd be in a room and see a woman with exposed breasts. You don't belong there. Even the receptionist, like, "Oh, are you registering for your wife?" You get that kind of question. So after we got through some of that the first year, Vicky and I sat down and we said, "We're going to change this." And it's when we decided to incorporate and find ourselves his breast cancer awareness to make it easier for the next guy to find some information, to find a place. Because when I was going through it, I was Googling everything possible. And all we could find was a site dedicated to a man that passed away. And they were doing it in honor of him from breast cancer, but there was nothing informative about it. So we put our heads together, and with the help of Vicky's oldest son, who's honestly a technology whiz, helped us with some of the technology part of it because we're old. Well, I'm old. You're younger, Vicky. You already stated that, but I'm old. I'm 70 now.
Get
We
out of
started his
here.
breast cancer. Oh yeah, I'm turned
I
70 last
would
August.
never
I
have
wouldn't
guessed.
have guessed that either. Oh
You
my
Not
guessed
even a
that
God.
little
either.
bit.
That's okay.
So how
But
long ago was this?
Vicky looks 70, right? No,
I'm not.
I'm
Remember,
sorry. Go
I'm
ahead.
the younger sister here.
Harvey, how long ago was this that you were diagnosed?
I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2008, November of
Okay.
2008. I was diagnosed 18 months later, even though I think I had it first, with BRCA2 prostate cancer. Had full prostatectomy surgery for that 18 months later. So I'm, depending on how you want to do the math, 14, 13, 15 years out from treatment. My prostate cancer did have a recurrence, had to go through radiation post surgery. So now I just screen and more screen. Unfortunately, we have an older brother who carries the mutation too, and he was just diagnosed last May with pancreatic cancer. So
Oh,
our
I'm sorry.
family is littered with it. And we know that. And that's one of the reasons Vicky was so adamant about getting genetically tested, because there's this huge history in our mother's side of our family of cancer everywhere. So we know where it comes from. We know what causes it. We also know that it's more BRCA treatments, or when your cancer is driven by BRCA2, it's more aggressive. So you have to be more vigilant. And we do. We screen for. I've been screening for pancreatic cancer for the last 7 years. Never thought. We have an older brother who was a little stubborn and didn't want to get screened, and the result was not that the result would have changed, honestly, but he's dealing with that now, and he's fighting. He's doing pretty well. It was caught fairly early, so he's got a chance, but we know that the odds are not in his favor.
It's horrible.
Yeah. So when you created the foundation, we were trying to come up with a name, and just to put a little history back there, the HIS for his breast cancer awareness is actually Harvey's initials. And I said one day, I got the name of our foundation. You always hated your middle name, but guess what? It had a purpose, and we just didn't know it. So his really has multiple meanings for us. And since we've, have the foundation, and we've newer website, and we're always updating with new information and trying to stay as current as we can. We have medical advisory board. We also have a male genetic counselor that works with us, because we do feel, especially for men, a large percentage comes from, a genetic mutation, but that doesn't always have to be the case. And so it's, we stress the importance of knowing your family history, having those conversations with your family, sharing. Families, a lot of people don't like to talk about cancer, whether even taking the male breast cancer out of the equation there, men especially don't always share. And so it's important to have those conversations, and all of a sudden you find out, oh, my uncle had breast cancer when he was, 30 years ago, or my great aunt, or my, that had breast and ovarian cancers. And these are all important factors for women and men to, make a priority. Find out about your family health history, talk to your doctors, find out what you need to do. Should you have genetic testing? Are you a good candidate for it? Because that will open the door, hopefully, for other surveillance, so that you can find any diagnosis early. That's key. But for most men, it's often found when it's much further progressed, because nobody's checking. They're not going in and getting a self breast exam at their annual physical, although I think they should. We think they should, especially if there's a family history, but that's a different story. So it's just, it just opens up that information. What you choose to do with it is up to you. It's important to know that a genetic mutation doesn't mean it's a death sentence. It doesn't mean you're going to die because of this. It just means you have a higher percentage of being diagnosed, with a hearing that you have a cancer diagnosis, but it means that you can also treat it sooner and watch for it. So
Look,
Absolutely.
men are stubborn. We found this out. Look, I was stubborn. Vicky had warned me. I had symptoms. I ignored the symptoms. Guys, we want to be tough. We want to be. Oh, it's not that. It's something else. And when it's up in the chest area, it's always, well, it's sore. I pulled a muscle. I did too much at the gym. I swung too hard on the golf course. Whatever it is, and we've seen that. We've realized that going through the foundation, that trying to get men to come on board and open up and tell us what's going on, or let us help them or guide them, is more difficult. Sometimes we go through the women. Vicky's very pronounced about making sure the women help the guys. I tell every guy I meet that when I'm going to talk about it, you go for a physical every year. If you were a woman, the doctor would check your breast. If you're a guy, they don't even think about it. So if you ask them, hey doc, can you check my breast and see if you feel any abnormalities? It'll take 1 minute, and the doctor will be happy to do it. If you were a woman, you would have done it naturally. So it's just things we talk to the medical profession about that. We talk to clinicians about that. I've met so many clinicians along my route, whether it's the nurse getting me ready for an exam or a test or a screening, and they look at my chart and they go, wow, you had breast cancer? It's like, yeah. Oh, I didn't know. I didn't know guys could get it. You're a registered nurse. How do you?
Wow.
Doctors have said that to us. They don't know that it exists. I mean, were you sleeping through that lecture? I don't know, but we're just trying to do our job and our love and our desires now to get everybody more educated on this topic. And I think we've done some of that. We still have a long way to go, but we've gotten it better. It's more pronounced. You get if you go for a mammogram now on your guy, you actually get a different form than the women. You don't have to tell them when your last period was. It's like the first time I saw that, my original forms were, do you have vaginal dryness? Well, not the last time I looked. I don't
Oh my
know if I
God.
could get vaginal dryness. Let me ask my wife. It's like you have to be realistic. So now the forms change. It's slow, and we'd like it to be more expedient, but it takes time, as you
But I
guys know.
think that's amazing, just right there. That's something I wouldn't have even thought about. So it leads me into asking something else that's not really spoken too much about that I'd like to open a conversation around is the mental health aspect, not just of breast cancer or cancer itself, but as a guy and you just experiencing, you mentioned when you went to go for your appointments, they were asking if you were checking in your wife or the forms were not formatted with any male, in mind. So from a mental health aspect, what is that like for somebody to go through as a guy?
At first, honestly, it was twofold. It was emasculating from that standpoint. My friends, they tease me about it. Oh, you want to play from the red tees now that you're a girl, that kind of stuff. But it's difficult to have that conversation with people even that you come in contact with. So um, I didn't struggle. I knew what I had. I knew what I had to do. I could take care of myself. How the other people felt about it, frankly, I didn't give a shit. But I put it out there because that's what I was doing. I said, why was I the 1% that was going to get this? Right? It's like 99% of breast cancers, 99 point more, are female. Why was I chosen to get this? And as I wrote in my book, maybe because I was the one who was going to do something about it. I was going to speak up about it, where most guys won't. We've met and know about a lot of people with a lot more reach than us,
Celebrities.
celebrities, athletes that have had it or have had it in their family, and they won't talk about it because it's
Wow.
emasculating to them. So, or they just want to hide about it. They want to get their treatment, not have anybody talk about it, have anybody know about it. And I know cancer diagnoses are personal. You don't need the world to know what you're going through, you know. Um, but when you have a platform that could expand the reach and save people's lives, why not use that platform? We don't have a platform. We created a platform, but we don't have a natural platform. And we keep trying to find more people that'll speak up about it with us. And we'll keep working until the day we can't work anymore.
It's
Um,
it's
and
why
then
we
hopefully whoever takes it from us will do it. Sorry.
it's why we brought, our colors, our logo. It has blue. It's blue and pink.
Hmm.
It's not just pink because cancer isn't pink. There's no color to it. So we want men to know that they are a part of breast cancer just as women are. It's an equal. So
Absolutely. You mentioned your book, Harvey. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, when I was going through chemo, I have a journalism background. I have a degree in journalism from Temple University. I never really used it for a work environment. I'm in the sales side of things, so I use it to write good sales letters. I have good work, good work craftsmanship. But when I was going through chemo, I had a lot of sleepless nights, as you guys know. It's not an easy process, and I started to, just write. I just started to let things out of me. I found it cathartic to just write to myself. And then after my second diagnosis, after prostate cancer diagnosis, I started to spin a little bit. And I actually saw a therapist in Rochester, New York. And, one of the sessions I was telling her that I've been doing this writing. And she said, on the next session, bring me an excerpt. So next session, I brought her an excerpt. And the following session, when I came back, she said, you got to go back and finish this. Because I had gone back to work. I got, I was better. I went back to my job and I kind of put it to the side. So I went back and spent the next few months in and out of my work time on planes and finished the book. And basically, it was, I didn't want to write a book about going through this treatment and that pain and that diagnosis and that surgery. And it's just everybody writes that stuff and nobody really wants to read your problems. So I kind of went back into my youth and kind of let it all out. And gave a self look at what I was dealing with. Because Vicky, I knew from being we're Jewish, and in the Jewish faith, you're named after your family, somebody that's passed away that they want to honor. And I'm named Harvey Irwin, was my mom's two brothers. Both died very young, and both of cancer. So when she told me that when I was young, like around 10 years old, I said, oh, great. I'm destined to get cancer and die young. I'm named after two guys that didn't make it to 40, basically. And it always ran with me. So I kind of went back into that side of me. But then I didn't want it to be just depressing that way. So I made it, about frivolity, about fun. I went back into my party life. I'm a child of the 50s. I went through high school and college in the 70s. We had fun. We partied. So I went back into some of that stuff. I changed the name of my friends to keep them protected. I gave them surnames in my book. So I tried to make it a little bit enlightening, opened up, talked about the foundation, talked about my life going through it, but I kind of, just kind of self-examination, let it come out. It was, and it's called Sir, You Have Breast Cancer. You can still get it on Amazon. At some point when I retire, probably next year, I will write the follow-up to it. And I have some time to actually sit down and do that. So
You
Vicky's
have to
giving me
let us
that
know
look.
about that.
What's
Yeah,
Vicky's looking at
let
me
us
like,
know.
you're retiring next year? I think that was more her question when I said that, but yeah, I'm toying with it. I am
I love
70 now, but
I still can't believe that, but I love that you resorted to journaling because me and Candice are really big on that. It's a lot of what we base all of our work around. There's something very empowering and healing in the form of writing and expressing, and that takes on different things for different people. But I think your book in itself is an invitation to somebody to hear your perspective as a man going through what's considered a woman's disease, and that you allowed yourself to express through it. And I think that's pretty big. Most guys don't
I think
express too
yeah,
much.
we?
I let it out, and it's funny because the subhead is "So You Have Breast Cancer: The Story of a Man Going Through a Woman's Disease." So that's my
Oh,
subtitle in the book. So you picked it right off. But Vicky writes most of our blogs. She'll beat me up every once like you're due for a blog, and I'll kick one out to her. But she does most of them on our website, and that I think it's cathartic for her. She gets the information out, whether it's current, whether it's a holiday or something going on that she wants to attach this to. We urge everybody to go to our website, hisbreastcancer.org, and read her blogs. You can order our stuff, and if you want to help promote our foundation. We're a totally nonprofit. Vicki and I have never taken a dime out of the foundation. Everything we
wow.
get goes back into the foundation to help support things that like the Bassler Center and other people we work with, our other partners that we think are important to us. We've turned the corner to more not just male breast cancer, but more hereditary cancers in general. But we're still a male breast cancer,
Yeah, we've been very
advocacy.
involved in a wonderful documentary that's out there. It's available. It's called Pink and Blue: Colors of Hereditary Cancer, and we were a large part of it. Even our mother made it into the documentary when she was, thankfully,
Wow.
still living, still with us. Um, but it's like Harvey mentioned. I mean, he was named after two uncles that had passed. I'm looking at my mother and my aunt who, are much older, and thinking, why did this all start so early? What is different? And I always thought that, following a healthier lifestyle and doing those things, which I do still 100% believe, because I think it may have been diagnosed even earlier or more progressed. So I do believe in those things. But now we have our children, our sons. I do have two sons that do carry the BRCA mutation as well, and we don't know what the future will hold for our grandchildren. Again, boys or girls. I know we've made great strides in the scientific world, with vaccines on the horizon, and other great medications and treatments, becoming more and more available. So we can only hope that we're headed in a great direction, and cancer conversations can be less than current, but it is still here today. And I mean, I talk to people who know what we do and know about the genetic mutation, and maybe they have a son and daughter, and they will literally look at me and say, yeah, I'm really concerned about the genetic mutation for my daughter. And I stare at them like, what about your son?
Wow.
Oh, right,
Boys don't matter.
right. Like, I mean, whether, like we said, whether it's, especially with any of the genetic mutations, colon cancers, earlier onset prostate, melanomas, in addition to, the breast and pancreatics and ovarians and all the other wonderful things out there that mutations tend to offer us. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, it's a family affair here. It's a family event and nobody's excluded. And cancer doesn't care about gender or race. There's no color. So it's just, it's something everybody has to be vigilant about, be aware of, know your risk, know your family history, do your self breast exams, which are available, how to, on our website. Um, Also, I wanted to mention that we do offer, we talked about how men don't share a whole lot, but we do have a support group for male breast cancer on Facebook. So if you search that, it's available as well.
How do they search it to find you?
It should be on. It's on our website. We'll lead you right there to it. But it's, or search it on Facebook. It's just male breast cancer support. Um,
We
and
do screen the applicants. We don't let everybody in. I mean, we just want to make sure that they're not somebody trying to infiltrate that's trying to, do something for financial positivity.
It's
We
mainly men
we
asking
eliminate,
questions.
yeah,
The most
screening
recent
questions.
question yesterday was, I'm finishing up some treatments and I'm going to be speaking to my doctor about surgery, and is a lumpectomy an option? And and often for men it is not often, because they have such little breast tissue that a mastectomy is usually the choice, but not always. And that's a conversation for to have with your doctors. Every diagnosis is
But the
different.
group chimes in. The group will chime in on treatment, on what they're doing, and they'll tell, and then they get more it's not just coming from one clinician, it's coming from a group of people that have experienced it. So it's been good. It's only been up for us about a year, a little over a year, and it's growing. We see all the applicants, people want to join the group, not applicants, but, they have to be screen the questions just to make sure that they're viable for what we want.
Definitely. I
Vicky,
think
you actually, sorry, sorry, Vicky, you actually mentioned something, and it reminded me of a question that someone had asked me to ask you guys, and that was, are men able to get reconstruction surgery?
Yes, if they so choose. We
It's a
actually
viable time. Very current topic, actually.
Yeah, yeah. We had a very large conversation with a plastic surgeon out of New York, that we are also going to be doing sharing some information together with in a couple months. Um, it's I won't say it's the norm. Look, how many women now choose not to even have plastic or reconstruction, and just go flat. There's a large contingency out there that are just staying flat. For men, it obviously doesn't hold the same importance as it might for a female to feel that femininity, especially after all that they've been through. Um, Becomes a personal choice, but it is a possibility. It is a possibility.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the person I was speaking with just wasn't sure if it was even available, like if it was an option for men. So
It
I'm glad to
is. It
hear that
is.
it is.
Yeah.
It
Hard
wasn't. It
about,
wasn't 15 years ago.
right.
I'm not sure I would have done it anyway. The only thing I would look back and say I probably would have had a double mastectomy. I only had a single mastectomy at the time because I didn't understand all what I understand today, or even 5 years later. But um, it was not an option. But this plastics group that we've been talking to, that wants to be part of our, interchange with our foundation, he would like to work on me. He's kind of made no bones about it. But I'm 15 years out. I've accepted who I am. I was embarrassed at first when after surgery, I would go to the beach to keep my shirt on. I kind of kept it to myself. But then I realized became kind of a lightning rod for people because they would look at me and I would use that to engage them and then I can educate them. So education's such a key. So I'd walk to the beach and wait for, they wouldn't have to say anything. They could just, look at it and say, would you like to know where that, what that is? It's like, yeah, I fell on a landmine in Vietnam. And then I just laugh and I go, no, it's actually breast cancer. And I tell them, and they were like, wow, So I use it as a excuse to get engaged with somebody and try and educate them to what could be for them and how they
And
should
that's a
take care of
really
it.
great way to do it for sure. And I just wanted to say too, because body image isn't just a woman's concern, it's definitely also a man's concern. So I'm just really glad that you guys were able to join us today and speak on it. And what your organization is doing is 100% amazing. And I'm so glad that Rin and I have been able to help get the word out there.
Thank you.
Anytime you want it, hisbreastcancer.org is our website. We'll lead you to everything else. We do. Like I said, we're 100% 501(c) nonprofit. We just do it to the education and to make the next day easier for the next guy.
I think it's
we appreciate
amazing
you
what you're
having us.
doing.
Yes, thank you.
And likewise, we think what you do is amazing too. So it's if we can
Thank
all
you.
keep working in the same direction.
Right, take something that has had an effect, a major effect on us in our lives and our personal being, and we're all doing the same thing, trying to do something good with that and help others.
Yeah,
Pay it forward.
I agree.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And thank you so much for offering that to men and their partners and their families to have a place to land to learn about this, because like I said before, there's really not a huge amount of information and not a lot of open discussion, I find, around male breast cancer specifically. So I think what you guys are doing is phenomenal. The changes that you're making, even if they feel small, they're happening. And I think that's just amazing. I've put your website into the description and the show notes so people can go visit you guys, learn more about you. And if you guys have questions, please put them in the comments. We will get you answers to them. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you.
Our pleasure. Thank you for doing what you do.
My
Stay
pleasure.
healthy. Good
Yeah.
luck, guys.
You too.
Thank you.
All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Please leave questions, as I said, in comments below, and we'll make sure to respond to you. And we will see you guys next week.
Bye.